To be clear, just what is a protective order?
Protective order is a civil court order that's meant to prevent further acts of family abuse or violence. Family violence is considered violence by one household or family member against another.
On May 14th, 2004, Tina Esparza was leaving her work when her ex-husband stepped out of the shadows.
In the cases where a handgun is used in the crime, the gun is seized.
About 90% of offenders in state prisons for family violence had injured their victim. 50% of family violence victims were raped or sexually assaulted. 28% of the victims of family violence were killed. 50% of offenders in state prisons for spousal abuse had killed their victims. And of state prison inmates imprisoned for a crime against their son or daughter, 79% had raped or sexually assaulted the child, and another 10% had killed the child.
First had to issue a restraining order against a man whom I had met at the gym I worked at in high school. I was 17 years old when I started there, and he was about late 30s, early 40s. I really don't remember. But he came in just as a member, but he would talk to me a little bit longer than a 40-year-old should talk to a 17-year-old at the gym. So then he kept going against the order, and he would come into the gym and he would still, ask me inappropriate questions just to make me feel uncomfortable, it seemed to me. Basically, the restraining order, although he never touched me, it was still very, very unsuccessful.
The CCR in Arlington that's being created is trying to address all of that and make sure that people don't fall through the gaps, as has happened in other counties where, for one reason or another, we only ever hear the bad stuff, never hear the good stuff that happens with protective orders. But here in Arlington, we've actually been very lucky, and our judges are very accommodating to victims, and they will err on the side of caution. It's better to have than not to have.
Doorways for Women and Families is a nonprofit based out of Arlington. They have a safe house program. They do domestic violence work in the community as well. So the Safe House program has 11 beds for women and children, and I'm a court advocate with Doorways, so there's the court advocacy component as well.
Crimes for which family violence offenders were in prison, 78% of the victims were female. More than half were against a child under the age of 18, and more than a third were against a child under the age of 13. Many people don't believe that protective orders do what they are designed to do.
Protective orders are, by and large, successful. Protective orders do provide safety and protection for the victims against the offender.
I think they're definitely important in terms of leaving situations where there's violence in the home. I think it sends a strong message to the batterer that the person won't take it any longer. So I think they're effective in that sense. And the person, the petitioner, the victim, doesn't have to wait until they're assaulted or until something happens for the police to step in.
If you would like to know how to make sure protective orders work for you, first, follow all the conditions and terms stated in your protective order. Second, go to all the scheduled hearings. Third, report any violations of the protective order. And finally, develop a safety plan with your domestic violence service agency or victim witness program.